Welcome back. Now let's look at how you as a seller can best deal with real estate agents. You want an agent who has a good reputation and who acts quickly on your behalf. For example, will they show your property quickly if a buyer wants to see it? The agent who sold me the property I now live in wouldn't show it to me for 48 hours as he was too busy. When I told the vendor, because she happened to be mowing the lawn at the front of the property and I stopped to have a chat with her, she was furious with him. She was paying him all that commission and he wouldn't take the time to show a buyer round in a timely manner. Now, I don't know whether that agent is still in business, but there are some wonderful examples that I can talk about having experienced them with the agent who sold me that house. First of all, he was a liar. He told the sellers that they had to leave the house while he held an open home for prospective buyers. I happened to drop by after the open home and I noticed that nobody had come to this open home. But he told the sellers that people did come to the open home. I told you in part 1 not to be the first to name a price, and I went against my own advice. After the deal was complete, the agent told me that nobody else would have offered such a high price for that property. I felt terrible. However, in a subsequent discussion with the seller, he made me feel a little better by saying that from my perspective, I think you got a great deal. From your perspective, you think you paid too much for the property. But it was a really good learning experience. Don't be the first to name a price. Do your research, but even as the buyer or the seller, try to negotiate a better price. As the seller, be aware that if you've given the agent time limits for him to be the sole agent before it goes on to a multiple listing, they're often desperate to make a sale so that they don't have to split their commission. So even if they've done due diligence, they're still very likely to tell you to lower your price by 10% or 20% to get people interested in coming, and then try to force you into selling way below the price you wanted to accept. Now, once it goes on to a multiple listing, in a good economy, your agent might not put in a whole lot of effort trying to find you a buyer. In the downturn economy, they may be desperate enough to do whatever it takes to get you a buyer, including using bullying tactics to get you to lower your asking price. They don't hesitate to use the fear factor. If you don't sell it at this price, you may be holding on to it for a long period of time. If you do offer it at a much lower price, we'll have much more of an opportunity to sell it for you. A client of mine was talked into selling her home at auction. She really didn't know whether she wanted to go that route, but the agent convinced her that she could probably get anywhere from $525,000 to maybe $590,000 for her house, that it would be a quick sale, she'd get her money, and it would be done. She spent over $5,000 on advertising, which the agent had forcibly suggested, and then the day before the property was due to go to auction, the agent called her and told her she needed to set her reserve price at $450,000, and that she'd be lucky if she even got that. This is such gross lack of integrity. They get away with it all the time. At no time when he was twisting her arm to put her property up at auction did he tell her that she'd probably have to take a hit of maybe $130,000. She took it on faith that she'd be walking away from the deal with a profit. Instead, if he had his way, he'd have gotten his commission and she'd have sustained the loss. She came to me right after the agent called her, telling her to reduce her asking price. She was in tears because she'd already made another offer on another property, thinking that she'd have the money from the sale of this house. I advised her not to go through with the auction. So, when she went in there that same evening and told them that she wasn't going ahead, they said, "Oh no, you can't do that." She said, "Oh yes, I can. You're not getting my signature, so you can't sell my house." Don't forget that agents make their living from commissions on sales. The commission is based on a percentage of the sale price and is calculated on a formula the agent should disclose in most countries, if you ask. Like everything else in real estate, it's negotiable. Discuss the commission before making or receiving an offer. The best time to haggle over commission is when the parties are so close that it's only the commission that's in the way. Don't forget, agents are particularly hungry in the downturn market, and 9 times out of 10 it works, as they much prefer to sell a property and make some commission than let the sale fall through and make nothing at all. So to summarise, ensure that your agent will show your property in a timely manner if a prospective buyer turns up. Try to get recommendations for an agent who has integrity and who's honest. Don't be pushed and don't get frightened. It's your property. You're the one in charge. At some point, somebody will buy your house. I had a letter from Jonathan W. from last week's show. He says, "You mentioned in your last show that we should look for property managers who have excellent tradesmen on their books. I'm a small investor and I have a plumber who's been just wonderful. I'm in somewhat of a quandary. I'm at the point where I need a property manager, but I really don't want to use their plumber. I'd rather use my own. Should I make that a condition of my property management agreement?" Well, thank you for your letter. As I said on my last show, good plumbers are as rare as hen's teeth. And if you've really found a good one and you're thinking of letting your property manager use him, then be prepared for the possibility that the agent will give him lots and lots of work, and he then won't have the time to attend to your properties in a timely manner. So I'd save my plumber for my home repairs and for the properties that are not being managed by an agent. And since the property manager will be responsible for getting you a good plumber, I'd let them supply the plumbers, knowing that they have to stand behind their work. So you want to buy an office building, or maybe you have a dream of being the property developer of a shopping centre? Next week we'll be talking about commercial property, and it's not as far-fetched as you think to own a piece of commercial property. See you next week.